So in this video I'll talk about best books about research, best books for researchers and best books for students. So generally books about research in general, and specific research methodologies, research methods, data analysis, and some extras at the end. As you can see, the setting today is quite different from what it was usually. This is because I moved house and I still don't have my studio or my office, so I had to record in the attic. This is where I am now, and this is where my future studio or my future office will be. So as they say, this video is as real as it gets. And also the recommendations are real. Under the video you'll find links. These are affiliate links, so you can buy each of these books. If you do, I receive a small commission. However, this does not affect the price of the book. So you're paying the same, except that I receive a small commission of each sale. But as you'll see, I actually have and own these books. So they are really my favorite books. Oh, and also I'm sitting on a box. I'm sitting on a box full of books as well. So as I was going through my books when I moved here, I thought I would record this video. So let's start. What are the best books for researchers? So number one, I thought I would start with a general book about research. And this is How to Do Your Research Project by Gary Thomas. So the reason I picked this book is this is actually, I think this is the first book about research that I've read when I was still a master's student. I really like the language of this book. It's really simple, which however doesn't mean that the book is simplistic. I actually used this book also during my PhD, and I sometimes still use it in my work. So one of the things that, for example, this author makes very clear are the research paradigms, epistemologies, and this kind of thing. So something that's normally quite confusing. He also talks about validity in simple language. So this already for me is a reason to buy this book. He talks about different paradigms, as I said, different research methodologies. Everything is written in really simple and plain language. So I really do recommend this book. It's a really great resource to have, and like I said, the language also is the reason why you need to buy or consider buying this book, simply because it's written in a normal, plain, simple language. Unlike many of these methodological books that are so complex to understand and so difficult to follow. This one is actually quite funny sometimes, which again, you have to admit, is not very common for a methodology book to be funny. So yeah, so that's number one on my list. Number two is quite a thick one. It's called Real World Research by Colin Robson. You may have heard about this one. Again, it's just is I think the second book about methodology and research that I've read, and it really has it all. It has everything that you need to know. I like the classification that they offer between not quantitative and qualitative research, but rather fixed and flexible designs. They explain why they prefer this classification to qualitative and quantitative, and I just like it. I like to stick to this classification that this author offers, and of course it has everything that you need to know about every single method, at least the most common ones. It actually explains quantitative data analysis quite well, which again for me it's a big selling point, because I'm completely useless when it comes to quantitative data. So and he explains it in, again, quite a simple language. And then everything else, so like I said, all the procedures, research, sampling, everything about research is included in this book. So if I had to choose probably one book about research, I would probably buy this one, even though the first one is probably funnier. It's actually, but it's maybe a little bit too simple if I had to just stick to one book. This one, however, has everything that you need to know about research. The third one, so we are still in the section of books about research. So this one is Introduction to Research Methods in Education. So this is what it looks like. Remember, you have all the links in the description. Again, not much to add here. It's just quite a detailed and thorough description of all the research methods used in education, but I guess it's not just for education, it's just generally research, qualitative research, so it can be, the things described here can be applied to a variety of different contexts. It has different exercises and questions at the end of each chapter or module or unit. So yeah, this is a good book. This is another good book, and I used it when I taught research methods at the university. So it's definitely another good book, and that's the final book in my first section. That is books about research in general. Now section number 2, books about mixed methods research. There's only one, so the sections are actually quite random. I just found a bunch of books that I really like. So there's one book. If you want to learn about mixed methods research, this is the book to follow. You may have heard these names, Creswell and Clark. Many people refer to these two authors when they talk about mixed methods research. And again, I used it quite a lot. I even used it when I was recording some of my videos about mixed methods research, just to remind myself about different things. So it has obviously it has everything that you need to know about mixed methods research: how to plan and conduct the studies, how to analyze the data. It breaks down mixed methods research into several categories, like sequential designs and exploratory, explanatory, everything that I've also discussed in my videos, which you can watch here. I think I always make it wrong when I edit. I think it's actually here, so you can watch it here. Best book about mixed methods research. Now, books about interviews. There are surprisingly few books about interviews, and again, I'm pretty sure that you've heard this one. So the author is Quayle. So many people refer to Quayle when they talk about interviews. It's probably, when you talk about interviews, there is not that much. The expectation is not that you really refer to too many sources, because interviews are so common and so popular, so nobody really expects you to justify every single thing that you say about interviews. But when you do, you will find this book useful. Again, it has obviously all the different kinds of interviews, so structured, semi-structured, and all kinds of interviews. It talks about transcription, it talks about data analysis. Obviously it's not very detailed when it talks about data analysis, but the basics of it. It's very thin, actually, surprisingly thin, which makes it even more worth reading, I guess. So it's very thin, but it has surprising amount of information in it. So remember, Quayle, doing interviews. That's another book. So now another section, this time about methodologies, specific methodologies. I won't be talking about all case studies, ethnographies, but I selected grounded theory. The reason is, firstly, I like grounded theory. Secondly, I did grounded theory for my PhD. And thirdly, I have a book about grounded theory. Again, you'll definitely be familiar with this name, Charmas, when you think about grounded theory. And this is literally the book that I learned everything about grounded theory from. Later I followed with some articles and some classic books. So of course, when Charmas talks about grounded theory, she talks about the Strauss and Glazier, or I can't remember his name. Basically the most important people in grounded theory. So I did read these books, but for constructivist grounded theory, which tends to be what most people nowadays choose for grounded theory, this is the book that I recommend. Again, it has everything that you need to know, all procedures, all details. It has a lot about coding. So even though I don't always work on grounded theory studies, I do follow an approach to coding and data analysis that I learned from grounded theory, and it simply suits me. I believe it's you've seen my other videos, hopefully, about line-by-line coding, and so there are many reasons why I like that approach, and this is where I learned about this approach. So she's talking about coding, initial coding, all kinds of coding. She talks about all procedures and grounded theory. So if you're interested in grounded theory, I won't really have to explain the content of this book. Everything that you need to know about grounded theory. So now on to data analysis. That's the next section where I actually have two books. So book number 1. I could not recommend this book enough, and it's called simply Qualitative Data Analysis. Bear in mind that these books probably you'll find newer editions than the ones that I have, so they may look slightly different, but these are still the same books. So Qualitative Data Analysis, again, I would argue that everything, the whole base of my knowledge about qualitative data analysis, I owe to this book. Later I of course investigated the topic further, and I read more books and you know, attended seminars and all kinds of things, but this is where it all started for me. As you know, I'm quite interested in qualitative data analysis. I talk about it all the time, and this is what I do for a living. So like I said, I'm not I wouldn't lie if I said that without this book I don't think I would be where I am now. So everything you need to know, thematic analysis, all kinds of analysis, again, coding, cross case analysis, within case analysis, everything that you need to know. So again, if I had to pick one book about qualitative data analysis, I would definitely pick this one. And the second one, as you know, in addition to qualitative data analysis, I'm quite interested in qualitative data analysis with NVivo. And this is again the same author. You can see how I butchered this book with all these notes. I think they are still from the time when I was doing my PhD. For NVivo, literally everything that I learned about NVivo, I learned from this book. Not counting, of course, my actual practical experience. I learned plenty, as you always do. Practice makes perfect, so I learned plenty actually working with NVivo, working with data analysis. But in terms of theoretical knowledge, I did not use anything else. So literally this book is probably not good for me to say that, because I should say my course From Zero to NVivo, which advertising time, which you can find in the description. That's what you need to learn everything about NVivo. If you like videos, if you want to read, if you prefer reading, this is the book that you want. Okay, so final section, books about writing a thesis. There is one book about writing a thesis, and it's called How to Write a Thesis. So it's just great. It's great. It has a number of tips and techniques for writing. So it's not just about the structure of a thesis, but it's also about how to actually develop your writing skills. I think it is, I'm sure it is this book where I also found free writing technique, which I often talk about. I have a video about it as well, as this is technique I used during my studies first, and it really helped to overcome the block. When I stumbled upon that block, I didn't know what to do next, what to write next, and this is when I used free writing. And since then I used free writing very often, even in my work. So even for that reason I would already recommend this book. But then it has obviously sections and chapters about all the different sections and chapters in your thesis, how to write them, how to link paragraphs. It has exercises after every chapter, so it's a really great resource. So to be working on your own at home, and once you go through the whole book, your writing will really improve. And again, this is what happened to me, and I owe almost everything to this book. When it comes to theory of writing, not practice, obviously you mainly have practice when you're a student, but when it comes to theory, everything that I learned about writing is in this book. And now on to the final section, the bonus, the extra section. So books about general well-being, self-development, this kind of thing. It's also important. You can't just be reading books about data and data analysis and research methods. You firstly need to read for pleasure, completely for pleasure, and I have plenty of books here for that. I am a big fan of Stephen King and generally horror and sci-fi. But there are also books that you can read for pleasure, but they actually help you in life and in your studies. And these books are the ones that I'll quickly review now, because I can see the video is quite long already. So the first one, The Element by Ken Robinson. Sir Ken Robinson, and late, unfortunately, Sir Ken Robinson. He passed away a few years ago. I'm a huge fan of his work. He generally, apart from this book, just look him up, and he talks about education and how we need to reform education. It's great. He has given plenty of TED Talks, so you can watch that. Just an amazing human being. I strongly recommend following all the work of Ken Robinson. But this one, The Element, is very interesting because it's about, as it says, how finding your passion changes everything. How finding your passion changes everything, which he refers to as the element. The element is the place where what you're good at and what you enjoy doing meets. And yeah, there is no point for me to review the whole book, but it's a great book. His style of writing is great. You'll read it very quickly and you'll just understand yourself better. And there are plenty of success stories, how people even dropped out of school and still, you know, followed a career. So it's great. It's great overall in general in life. You'll need it. Meditation. I talk about meditation several times in my videos, and I explain that meditation also helped me get through my PhD and then through life as well. I still meditate quite often. It's a great thing. There is no magic about it. You're not gonna levitate, so don't try this one. But nevertheless, it will help you plenty. There are two books by the same guy, Matthew Ricard. They call him the happiest man on the planet, the happiest man on earth. He's a Buddhist monk. And so yeah, these two books. First one, Happiness, actually is the one that I've read first. It is about happiness, but it's also about meditation. It teaches how to meditate. The second one, The Art of Meditation, is obviously about the art of meditation. But like I said, that wasn't the best review. But Happiness is the one that I even learned about meditation from, and I already started to do this. So then I bought the other one. They are both quite short and they are amazing, absolutely amazing. Again, plenty of stories, anecdotes. It's funny, it reads well. Definitely recommend both of them. And finally, the least relevant, I guess, we're getting to less and less relevant books, Bird by Bird. I also recommended it in one of my other videos. It's generally about, some instructions on writing and life. Quite general statement. And again, it's really funny, it's really light, it's just a feel-good book. And it's about this author and her experiences of writing, of starting to write. So whether you are a writer or you enjoy writing like I do, or you don't, it's still relevant. It's generally about your passions and how to be persistent, and how to develop your passions, how to follow your dreams. So it's just a book that will make you feel good, and you need this kind of books in your life, especially when you're doing a PhD. So yeah, so that's all for this video. I really do hope to have a studio soon. I want to record videos and talk to you about the fun stuff, data analysis from my office, not from this attic. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you'll find some of these books useful, regardless of whether you purchase them through the links. So don't worry, no pressure, but do have a look and also explore the guys, the authors that I mentioned. All of them are super extremely valuable. So if you enjoyed this video, please like the video, subscribe to this channel if you're new here, and I'll see you in the next video.